and look at this little child and look at the mother dying and look at the horror of that, then I come away with understanding, yes, God exists, God is within us, and we have trapped God, and we have not allowed God, because if God was free within the universe and within the minds and consciousness and hearts of people, this type of thing couldn't happen. But there's an interesting thing happening in the New Age, and this is the interesting thing happening today. And that is, your soldiers have seen their swords being beaten into plowshares. If you've noticed, the last few things that the American troops have done to get away from Saddam Hussein is going into foreign countries and helping people to feed themselves. And that's what they're doing. They're all flying off again to bring water and food and all of these things. And that's what a soldier should do. That's what an army should be for, you know. But we have built our whole mechanism upon the fact that we're going to shoot each other and blow each other's head off, and then Johnny's going to come marching home, and we're going to be proud of that. I'm much more proud of these young men as they go and rescue these little children and give life to their mothers and fathers.
Exactly.
Love exists then when? Love exists when there's a discipline. Okay? Love exists when there is a discipline, but it is not a discipline from without. It has to be a discipline from within. There has to be an inner discipline or love will not exist. And that's what we spend our time here talking about. That's what Yahshua the Christ talked about. That's what Buddha talked about. That's what Krishna talked about. There has to be an inner discipline. And for the most part, with everybody, you know, with all due respect, everybody sitting in here, with all of you sitting on television, it doesn't exist. It does not exist. Because we're constantly looking for something to guide us, to tell us the truth, not realizing that by disciplining ourselves within, we understand truth and we begin to take truth and we begin to act truth. So the law tries to civilize, okay? And that's what the law tries to do. It says you got to start acting better. The law tries to civilize. And if you take a look on the back shelf there, that thing that I wrote about traditional family, that has been one of the things that religion has tried to do. In order to civilize, it says you must have a traditional family. The traditional family is falling apart at the seams. The traditional family is being destroyed. Why? Because the law that put it together said in order for there to be a traditional family, a very important thing had to happen, and that is one party to the marriage had to submit to another. The woman had to bow down to the man and subject herself to the man. The man was the head of the household. The woman had to wear a thing. The woman couldn't speak in church and all these types of things. And so what happened is the traditional family went into a stage of self-destruct, and that's where it is right now. The problem that you have with love trying to spiritualize while law tries to civilize is that law has come before love instead of love coming before law. Okay? In fact, what should happen, it should happen the other way. Love has to come from within first before law can come from without. The reason that you've got chaos all over the world is because inside of the heads of the people who are making rules and regulations is chaos.
Wow. True.
And what happens on the outside is simply manifested from the inside. In other words, at one time this chair was a thought. It didn't exist. Somebody decided, I'm going to design a chair. So from the recesses of their mind comes the idea, I'll put this type of thing, I'll put these things, we'll mold the metal and all of these things, and voila, the next thing you have the manifestation of a chair. There are other people who are thinking of ways to manifest bombs. There are other people who are thinking of ways to manifest machine guns. There are other people throughout the world who have thought of ways to protect themselves and defend themselves. In fact, the degrading of women started with the introduction of the Iron Age, when the point came to say, well, from now on, the men have to defend the land. The men have to do this. The men are the warriors. And that was the end of the goddesses. And from there on in, it became difficult for women to survive in the religious culture. We have never done that. The West that we live in has civilized the outside. But the inside is destroyed. And so you'll have people like, look what you just had in this last administration. You had a man who was introduced into the president's administration, goes down to Washington, has epitomized, we've made it to the top. I was a lawyer. The next thing you know, I'm part of the administration. I'm part of the cabinet. What's he do? He goes into a park in Washington and blows his brains out. It didn't make any difference because what was civilized on the outside was not civilized on the inside. Whether O.J. Simpson committed this murder, I have no idea. Somebody, maybe him or somebody else did it, and it shows you the violence and the rage that occurs, and all it takes for any human being to experience that and go against another is for that little switch to be tipped. There is a switch within every human brain. and it will